These soils are ancient and contain many secrets. It's a bit like having a giant library and having never read the books. We know very little about the invertebrates that live amongst these huge bouldery slopes. We probably know more about the surface of the moon. We have a choice, we're at a crossroads. We can choose to look after and investigate and learn, or we can stay ignorant and just lose them. I've had the great fortune to work in Borrowdale as a woodland ranger with the National Trust, looking after one of Britain's most important temperate rainforests.
With having lived within sight of this woodland now for 30 plus years, it's part of my life. When I go for a walk first thing in the morning with the dog, I go to Johnny Wood and I do a circuit round by the beck.
The Borrowdale rainforests are an internationally important habitat, and they're just as rare as the tropical rainforests. We have one of the best and biggest patches of temperate rainforest left in England. Temperate rainforests are incredibly rare and special. They're a very different kind of woodland to most of the ones we get here in the UK. This is because they are on the western coast, which means they're in an oceanic climate, which means that they have a very different set of species within them. For example, we get lots of epiphytes, which is plants growing on other plants. This isn't possible in other places where the woodlands aren't as wet, but here it's the perfect habitat for lichens and bryophytes, as well as so many other rare species like the pied flycatcher and the red squirrel and the northern hairy wood ants. These woodlands are one tiny fragment left of an enormous forest that once stretched from the northwest of Scotland all the way down the west coast of England, Wales and Ireland. So there are only these tiny pockets left which have been mostly untouched and only influenced by some grazing animals like cattle, sheep and deer.
We've been tenants at Ashness Farm since 1989. We need to work hard to make sure that we get the balance between the types of livestock that we have and the quantities of livestock, so that we don't overgraze areas but not undergraze either. We're hoping at the end this autumn to put a lot more trees in up here and make some of these allotments into woodland pasture. After you've been here a few years, you can actually see the benefits of not grazing as much stock and putting in the hedgerows. It's making corridors for insects, and everything is thriving a lot better as well. And my big dream is to get some bees back. If we try hard with the edible hedge and the orchard, we should have enough things flowering earlier in the season to sustain some bees.
The day-to-day management in these woodlands is extremely varied, and it could be anything from doing boundary maintenance, such as dry stone walling or putting up fences, to tree management. Our ambition moving forward is to connect the remaining fragments of temperate rainforest woodlands in Borrowdale and beyond. If we don't work to protect these last remaining species now, then we're at risk of the ecosystem collapsing, which will have a massive effect not just in the Borrowdale Valley, but in the Lake District, in Cumbria, across the UK and beyond. All of the species rely on each other to be able to survive. So it's incredibly important that we protect them, but not only for the species themselves, but for the people, the local community in this area. It's so important for them and their health and their well-being to come out and enjoy these woodlands.
The specialists, they will tell you that things are not what they were many, many years ago. There are very few new trees growing. And as for example, last year was a massive acorn crop. But what happens is it all just gets hoovered up by browsing animals. So what the National Trust are doing, fixing the boundaries, working with the tenants to ensure the sheep stay out of the wood because that's what they need, is a massive step forward in terms of the rejuvenation of this wood.
By making it a national nature reserve, we're ensuring it has even more protection. And it's also a commitment from us as a National Trust to make sure that we're doing everything we can moving forward to protect these woodlands and the species within them. We'll be making sure we engage local interest groups and the local schools and communities to really come out and learn as much as they can about the woodlands and hopefully upskill people and get them enthusiastic and connected and take some ownership of the woodlands and have that pride there, which we already do.
It's a treasure that we in Britain should really be proud of.